Baba Vanga's 2025 Red Sky Prophecy, What Awaits Us. When the sky turns red, even the calmest heart begins to wonder. Ancient proverb. Have you ever imagined waking up one morning to find the sky above glowing crimson? Not from dawn's beauty or pollution's haze, but a fierce, unnatural red, like the heavens themselves were warning us. A sky not of awe, but of omen. Long before satellites, breaking news, or social media feeds, there lived a blind mystic in the Balkans who foretold such a day. Her name was Baba Vanga, and she named a year, 2025. In this episode of The Journey of Wisdom, we unravel the mystery behind her red sky prophecy. Is it a symbol, a vision of war, a cosmic disturbance, or something far deeper? Perhaps a spiritual shift in human consciousness? Stay with us as we explore the hidden layers of this chilling foresight. If you find yourself intrigued by ancient prophecies, deep truths, and the intersection of myth and reality, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. And leave a comment below. Your insight could be the missing piece of this puzzle. So now, let us walk in the footsteps of the blind prophetess. What did she truly see in the sky of tomorrow? Number 1. Who was Baba Vanga? Baba Vanga's story is not merely a tale of mystery, but a reflection of the human longing to understand the unseen forces that shape our lives. Born in 1911 in the modest village of Strumica during the final breaths of the Ottoman Empire, she emerged not as a scholar or prophet by design, but as someone shaped by suffering. A violent dust storm left her blind as a child, plunging her into a life of literal darkness. But it was within that darkness that another kind of vision unfolded. Those around her began to notice something unusual. She spoke of things she could not have known: future births, impending deaths, political shifts, and looming disasters. Over time, people from every walk of life, peasants and politicians alike, sought her wisdom. Unlike the loud predictions of modern fame-seekers, Baba Vanga's words were whispered, wrapped in riddles and mystery. She never claimed to see the future as one watches a movie screen. Instead, she described hearing it through the rustle of wind, the silence of soil, and the shimmering stars above. Her connection to the natural world echoed an ancient Buddhist understanding that truth often speaks in silence. As the Buddha once said, 3 things cannot be long hidden: the sun, the moon, and the truth. Among her many cryptic visions, one continues to stir deep unease and reflection. A vision of a red sky, of fire and fear, a time of great upheaval. She is said to have prophesied, in the year of the 5, the skies will bleed. Mankind will see the fire overhead, and the world will tremble. Many will see it as the end, others will see it as the beginning. These words, heavy with symbolism, have sparked endless interpretation. Some take them literally, imagining global conflict or catastrophic natural disasters. Fiery skies caused by missiles, wildfires, or even solar flares. Others read her message through a metaphysical lens, pointing to shifts in cosmic energy, the return of ancient knowledge, or the breaking open of human consciousness. Her use of metaphor invites not panic, but deeper thought. When the skies burn, do we fall apart or awaken? The phrase "year of the 5" is particularly curious, and many researchers have drawn a line directly to the year 2025. In Balkan folklore, numbers carry meaning. 2 plus 0 plus 2 plus 5 equals 9, a sacred number symbolizing completion, the end of a cycle, and 2025 arrives exactly 5 years into the new decade, a point in history often marked by global turning points. Could this prophecy be less about fire in the sky and more about the fire within? A reflection of humanity's growing restlessness, of global tensions, climate crises, and personal transformations all reaching a boiling point. Perhaps Baba Vanga's red sky is not a single catastrophic event, but a mirror of our collective state, our skies reddening as our inner world spins in turmoil. The Buddhist teaching, "We are shaped by our thoughts, we become what we think," invites us to ask, are we co-creating the prophecy by the way we live, the anger we hold, the division we feed? In today's world, as we see increasing anxiety about the future, through climate disasters, social unrest, and spiritual disconnection, it's easy to look outward for signs of doom. But maybe the message behind Baba Vanga's vision is not to predict our end, but to prompt our awakening. Red skies have long been symbols in spiritual traditions, not just of danger, but of transition, of change. In Buddhist thought, fire is not only destructive, but purifying. It strips away illusion, it tests our resilience, and reveals our true nature. So instead of fearing 2025, perhaps we should prepare not with stockpiles, but with mindfulness, with compassion for one another, with an honest look at how our actions ripple across the earth and into the sky. The Dalai Lama once said, "World peace must develop from inner peace." Peace is not just mere absence of violence. Peace is, I think, the manifestation of human compassion. If the skies do burn, let it not be a sign of our failure, but of a fire that wakes us up to what matters most: connection, courage, and care for all beings. How do you feel when you hear the words red sky? Does it fill you with dread, or does it stir something deeper within you, a call to change? Number 2. The meaning of the red sky. The meaning of the red sky, a vision that has echoed through the ages, both haunting and profound. Across ancient civilizations, a blood-red sky wasn't just a beautiful or eerie sight, it was a message. The Romans believed it foretold the death of emperors. In ancient Chinese wisdom, a crimson sky was a sign that the heavens were angry, urging leaders and citizens to reflect on their actions. Among indigenous peoples of the Americas, a red sky often symbolized transformation, a warning that a deep and lasting change was near. These traditions, separated by oceans and time, all saw the red sky not merely as weather, but as a moment when the universe seemed to speak directly to us. And today, in our modern world filled with science and technology, the red sky still carries weight, but now we also have data to back up what might be behind it. Take a look at what happened in 1816, the so-called year without a summer. Following the massive eruption of Mount Tambora, ash and particles filled the skies, dimming sunlight and coloring the sky in shades of red and orange. Crops failed, temperatures dropped, and the world experienced a year of eerie darkness. Artists and poets of the time captured this strange beauty and its chilling aftermath. It was a moment when nature reminded us how small we really are. And now we're asking, could Baba Vanga, the blind mystic of Bulgaria, have seen something like this coming? Did her prophecy of a red sky point to a natural disaster like that? Or to something even darker? Let's ground ourselves in science. One realistic explanation could be a solar flare, particularly a powerful coronal mass ejection from the sun. This is when the sun hurls massive amounts of charged particles into space. And if one were to hit Earth directly, It could fry satellite communications, cause blackouts, and paint the sky in glowing shades of red and green. NASA has long warned that we are due for one of these solar events, yet we remain mostly unprepared. Could this be the red sky Baba Vanga envisioned? Not a fire in the heavens, but a storm of light and energy? Or perhaps it's not from above, but from within the earth. Colossal wildfires and volcanic eruptions, both made worse by climate change, could also fill the sky with ash and chemicals, altering the light and giving it that haunting hue. Scientists believe we may be entering a new era of increased volcanic activity, an awakening of the Earth's deep forces. And with the climate heating up, mega fires are becoming all too common. The sky turning red may not be some far-off prophecy. It may already be happening, one crisis at a time. But then there's a darker, human-made possibility. If tensions between nuclear powers were to erupt into conflict, the explosions could release clouds of radioactive dust and smoke into the atmosphere. The sun would be blocked, the climate disrupted, and the sky could indeed burn red in apocalyptic fashion. It wouldn't be nature's warning, it would be our own recklessness echoing back at us from the heavens. Now, pause with me for a moment. What do you feel when you hear about the red sky? Is it a natural event, something beyond our control, or is it a reflection of human choices, our technology, our greed, our wars? I want to hear from you. What do you believe the red sky means for our future? Here's the truth. Prophecies like the red sky are mirrors. They show us what could be, not what must be. Whether it's a message from the earth, the sun, or from within ourselves, the red sky reminds us to wake up, to take responsibility, and to protect the fragile world we live in. The real lesson is not to fear the sky turning red, but to ask, what are we doing today that could turn it that way? And more importantly, what can we do now to change the course of tomorrow? When we act with awareness, with compassion, and with courage, we write a different future, one not of fire and fear, but of balance and wisdom. Number 3. Rising global tensions and warnings. Let me tell you something that's both unsettling and important. Baba Vanga, the mysterious blind mystic from Bulgaria, is said to have warned of a red sky in 2025. A vision that many believe speaks of chaos, change, and reckoning on a global scale. But even if we set aside her eerie prophecy, the signs around us are impossible to ignore. Economists, for instance, aren't just whispering about recession anymore. They're sounding the alarm about a potential financial storm more intense than anything we've seen in recent memory. We're talking about a possible collapse that could shake the very foundation of how we live and work, sending shockwaves through markets, communities, and homes. And it's not just about money. Tensions across the globe are rising like a tide. Superpowers are flexing their muscles, smaller nations are caught in the middle, and even within countries, people are growing restless, divided, and disillusioned. Have you felt that unease in the air? The sense that something big is coming, something that no one can quite name, but everyone can feel. Now add to that what scientists are seeing. Astronomers say 2025 could be a year of extreme solar activity, sun flares and geomagnetic storms that might disrupt satellites, communication, and even power grids. Meanwhile, geologists have been tracking fault lines that haven't shifted in decades, quietly warning that several major earthquakes could be overdue. And perhaps the most urgent voices of all are from climate scientists. They tell us we're fast approaching critical tipping points, those invisible lines which, once crossed, mean there's no going back. It's like the Earth itself is tensing up, preparing to release decades of imbalance and strain. When Baba Vanga spoke of a red sky, could she have been sensing all of this? This convergence of crisis in so many forms? But here's where I want to ask you, what does this mean for you and me? Do we brace for the worst? Or is this a wake-up call to reconnect with each other, with nature, with deeper values we've neglected in our rush for progress? Personally, I believe moments of great uncertainty also carry great potential for reflection, for unity, for change that begins inside us. Could 2025 be not just the year of reckoning, but the year we finally turn toward wisdom and healing? Still with us? That means you're someone who dares to question the unknown. Type, "I embrace the mystery" in the comments if you're ready to face whatever 2025 may bring. Your presence fuels this journey. Let's walk this path with open eyes and steady hearts. Number 4. Alternative interpretations, UFOs and inner collapse. Baba Vanga's enigmatic prophecy of the red sky continues to stir curiosity, especially among those searching for meaning in a rapidly changing world. While many interpret her visions as symbolic or spiritual, others believe they could point to a more extraordinary reality, one that reaches beyond Earth. Some researchers and followers of her predictions suggest that this red sky may signal contact with extraterrestrial beings, drawing connections between her cryptic messages and age-old stories of fiery chariots in the sky found in religious texts across cultures. These parallels aren't entirely new, but they've taken on new weight in recent years as global governments, particularly the United States, have begun to acknowledge unidentified aerial phenomena with an openness and urgency not seen before. Whistleblowers speak of hidden technologies and encounters with objects that defy known physics, evidence that we may not be alone. In this light, could the red sky represent a moment of cosmic reckoning? Might it be the start of something profound, a contact that challenges what we think we know about life, consciousness, and our place in the universe? And if so, would such an event bring hope, disruption, or a deeper test of our humanity? Yet, as gripping as the idea of alien contact is, there is a more grounded and perhaps even more urgent interpretation, one that turns our gaze inward rather than upward. Many spiritual thinkers and psychologists believe that Baba Vanga often spoke in metaphors because her visions touched truths beyond language. What if the red sky is not a literal atmospheric change, but a reflection of our collective emotional and psychological state? In a world overwhelmed by fear, division, and disconnection, it's not hard to see how our inner landscape could project itself onto the world around us. With rising levels of anxiety, depression, burnout, and social conflict, it's possible that this red sky is symbolic of a breaking point, a warning not from outer space, but from within our own hearts and minds. The growing noise of social media, political extremism, environmental instability, and economic uncertainty weighs heavily on individuals and societies alike. Many feel isolated, overwhelmed, and spiritually lost, as though the light of clarity is dimming under the weight of too many burdens. If we follow this interpretation, then the answer to Baba Vanga's prophecy is not to be found in technology or survivalist plans, but in deep, intentional healing. It calls for a renewal of connection to each other, to the natural world, and to ourselves. When we stop looking only for external signs and begin to reflect on the state of our inner lives, we may find that the red sky is not a curse, but a call to awaken. This awakening involves mindfulness, compassion, and the willingness to rebuild what has been fragmented. In Buddhism, suffering arises when we become detached from the present moment and from one another. The antidote is simple, though not always easy. Live with awareness, act with kindness, and seek truth without clinging to fear. If we do this, the symbolic red sky that hangs over us begins to soften, revealing the potential for peace, even in troubled times. For those between the ages of 30 and 65 who have seen the world shift in unimaginable ways, through economic uncertainty, technological upheaval, and personal trials, this message is especially relevant. It is not too late to respond with courage and clarity. Rather than waiting for the sky to fall, we can learn to stand grounded, eyes open, hearts steady, and together walk a path toward meaning and resilience. The deeper message, a call for awareness. Whether Baba Vanga's red sky prophecy is literal, symbolic, or something beyond our understanding, one thing is undeniable: we are approaching a threshold. A moment in time where choices matter more than ever. Many hear the word prophecy and immediately picture doom or inevitability. But perhaps that's not the message here. What if this isn't a prediction set in stone, but a mirror? A reflection of who we are and who we might become if we don't shift course. Preparation in times like these isn't just about stocking up on supplies or learning how to survive in the wild, though those things have their place. True preparation goes deeper. It means preparing the mind, keeping it clear amidst confusion and noise. It means strengthening the heart, learning to hold space for love, empathy, and even grief. And above all, it means nurturing the soul, remembering that we are more than bodies navigating a chaotic world. We are conscious beings, capable of incredible awareness and transformation. So where do we begin? 1. Reconnect with nature. In the middle of uncertainty, anxiety, and constant digital stimulation, one of the most powerful and yet often overlooked paths to inner awakening is our reconnection with nature, the very cradle of life itself. Nature isn't merely a backdrop for relaxation or a scenic escape. It is a living, breathing teacher that offers timeless lessons in presence, resilience, and simplicity. When we allow ourselves to step away from the artificial hum of screens and the clutter of our fast-paced lives, and instead walk among trees, listen to the rustle of leaves, or feel the earth beneath our feet, we begin to realign ourselves with a rhythm far more ancient and wise than any algorithm. The natural world operates in cycles: birth, growth, decay, renewal. And in observing these patterns, we begin to understand that our struggles too are part of a larger unfolding. The stillness of a forest or the gentle flow of a stream does more than calm the mind. It clears the fog of modern confusion, offering clarity without speaking a word. As the Buddha said, if we could see the miracle of a single flower clearly, our whole life would change. This miracle is not just in the flower itself, but in our awareness of it, our willingness to slow down, notice, and be present. In doing so, something ancient within us stirs, a primal wisdom that predates all our worries and roles. This isn't imagination, it's remembrance. We begin to feel, not just think. We start to sense the quiet intelligence within our own bodies, the breath, the heartbeat, the instincts that tell us what is truly nourishing. Technology, while useful, can dull this inner voice. Constant stress silences it, but nature invites it back. In the presence of trees, we remember patience. In the dance of clouds, we remember change is natural. In the firmness of mountains, we rediscover our inner stability. Lao Tzu once wrote, "Nature does not hurry, yet everything is accomplished." There's profound wisdom in that, especially in an age where we rush without truly arriving. By reconnecting with nature, we are not escaping the world. We are finding the strength to face it with a grounded heart and a clearer mind. For those of us between the ages of 30 and 65, navigating careers, families, health challenges, and personal reinvention, this return to nature is not a luxury, but a necessity. It is where we can hear ourselves again, free from expectation, free from performance. So, take time each week, even if only for a short walk in a nearby park, time in a garden, or sitting quietly by a window watching the rain. These moments are medicine. They are not indulgent, they are essential. As Zen Master Thich Nhat Hanh reminds us, the present moment is filled with joy and happiness. If you are attentive, you will see it. Nature brings us back to this present moment, where joy quietly waits, not in some distant success, but right here, in the living world that has always been patiently waiting for us to return. Have you made time to listen to the wisdom of the earth today? 2. Strengthen loving relationships. In times of uncertainty, when everything around you feels like it's shifting or falling apart, there is one thing that can anchor you and bring real strength from within: your relationships. You might think that preparing for hard times means saving money, stocking up on supplies, or guarding your schedule. While these are helpful, they aren't the foundation of true resilience. Real strength doesn't come from what you have, but from who stands beside you. Emotional connection is what holds us steady when the rest of life feels unstable. So ask yourself, how strong are your connections with the people around you? Have you been truly present with those you care about, or just going through the motions? These are not just casual ties. Your family, your friends, and your community are lifelines that help carry you through storms you may not even see coming. Now is the time to look around and reach out, not just to those who are easy to love, but also to those relationships that have been bruised or broken over time. Maybe there's someone you haven't spoken to in years, someone you miss but feel awkward reconnecting with. Or maybe there's someone in your everyday life that you speak to but haven't really listened to in a while. You see, love isn't about perfection or grand gestures. It's about presence. It's the simple act of showing up fully, without distraction or judgment. Offering someone your full attention, your care, your patience. These are quiet forms of love that often go unnoticed, but carry the deepest healing. And healing is exactly what the world needs right now, beginning with how we treat one another. As the Buddha taught, hatred does not cease by hatred, but only by love. This is the eternal rule. This truth is not just spiritual, it's deeply practical. If we want a more peaceful world, it starts in our homes, in our friendships, and in how we engage with our communities. Every act of kindness, every word of understanding, every moment of empathy, these are investments into the kind of future we all long for. When we lift each other up, we rise together. The love we give returns in ways we can't always predict, often when we need it most. So, pause for a moment and reflect. Who are the people in your life that you truly value? When was the last time you told them? What simple action can you take today to deepen a connection or mend a bond? These questions aren't just for contemplation. They are the beginning of transformation. If we all took just one step closer to those around us, imagine the collective strength we could build. Let this be your reminder. Loving relationships are not luxuries. They are necessities for a meaningful, grounded life. In nurturing them, we not only find comfort during uncertainty, but also a deeper sense of purpose and belonging. The truth is, we are not meant to walk this journey alone. When we connect from the heart, we create a sacred circle of support that holds us, guides us, and strengthens us. So today, choose to reach out. Choose love, not later, but now. Lesson to carry forward. In uncertain times, your greatest source of strength is the love you give and receive. Healing begins when you offer presence instead of judgment, when you rebuild instead of retreat, and when you choose connection over isolation. Let your relationships be the sanctuary you both seek and offer. If you've watched this far, you're already opening your heart to a deeper awareness that can shift how you see the world. Comment below with "Awakening Now" to affirm your commitment to living with greater clarity and compassion. Don't leave just yet. There's still a powerful message waiting that might change how you walk through life. Stay with us to the end and take one more step on your journey of wisdom. 3. Seek knowledge. In times of uncertainty, one of the most powerful tools you can carry is knowledge. Not just the kind that fills your mind with facts, but the kind that nourishes your heart with wisdom. You see, the world we live in today is changing faster than ever before. News flashes by in seconds. Opinions come at us from every direction. And if we're not careful, we can feel overwhelmed, even lost. But here's the truth. When you stop learning, you stop growing. And when you stop growing, you slowly give away your inner power. Choosing not to learn is in many ways choosing to remain in the dark. That's why seeking knowledge, genuine, compassionate, soul-deep understanding, is not just an intellectual journey, but a spiritual one. Ask yourself, what have I truly learned today that brings me closer to peace? Not just what did I read or hear, but what did I actually take in and reflect upon? Learning is not just something we do in school or from books. It's in the way we observe our thoughts, how we listen to others, how we respond to life's challenges. And the Buddha said, just as a candle cannot burn without fire, men cannot live without a spiritual life. He was reminding us that learning is essential for our inner awakening. And spiritual life doesn't mean sitting in a cave or chanting all day. It means waking up to truth moment by moment. Explore ideas from different cultures, different teachings, different walks of life. Read the Tao Te Ching, reflect on the words of Rumi, listen to the silence of Zen. You don't have to agree with everything, but open your heart to what speaks to your soul. That openness is where growth lives. As Confucius once said, real knowledge is to know the extent of one's ignorance. This isn't a quote meant to shame, but to humble us into curiosity, to help us admit that we don't know everything, and that's okay, because learning is the path itself. And remember, knowledge isn't a weapon to prove you're right. It's a light that helps you and others find your way through the darkness. So let each day be a classroom, every person a teacher, and each mistake a lesson. Don't just ask, "What do I know?" Ask, "What am I still willing to understand?" Because when you keep learning, you keep becoming. And in a world that often feels uncertain and fragile, becoming wiser, day by day, is one of the strongest things you can do. So what are you learning today that will guide your tomorrow? 4. Seek truth. Overcome the chaos of information. In today's world, the search for truth has become more vital and more challenging than ever. Surrounded by an overwhelming flood of opinions, media narratives, political agendas, and social noise, it often feels like truth itself is constantly shifting. Many of us find ourselves questioning what's real, who to trust, and whether we're being led astray, even by our own assumptions. This is not just a political or societal issue, it is deeply personal. Seeking truth is not about proving others wrong or clinging to a single worldview. It is about cultivating the strength and courage to see things as they really are, beneath the surface. It's about moving beyond the fog of confusion, not through anger or cynicism, but through sincerity, openness, and a quiet commitment to clarity. This kind of seeking requires patience, especially in a fast-paced culture that demands instant answers. It also requires humility, the understanding that we don't know everything and that much of what we've accepted as truth might be rooted in habit, fear, or inherited beliefs. But within that humility lies great power, because when we question not only what we hear from others, but also what we've come to believe about ourselves and the world, we open the door to real transformation. In Buddhism, truth is not something handed down or imposed. It's something discovered through inner work and honest observation. The Buddha taught that clinging to fixed views, especially in times of uncertainty, is a form of suffering. Instead, we're encouraged to cultivate right view, one of the steps on the Noble Eightfold Path, which asks us to see clearly, free from illusion and distortion. In modern life, this means practicing discernment with every piece of information we consume, and also with every emotional reaction we feel. It means pausing before we repost something, resisting the urge to jump to conclusions, and being willing to say, "I don't know," when things are unclear. In uncertain times, people often look for certainty in extremes, choosing black and white thinking because it feels safer. But true strength lies in our ability to hold complexity, to stay steady while still being open. When we make truth our compass, we begin to walk through life with greater integrity. We stop chasing the next trend, the next opinion, the next validation. Instead, we become rooted in what's real for us, what we've tested with our own hearts and minds. This inner clarity allows us to be calm in chaos, not because we've figured everything out, but because we've learned to trust the process of honest inquiry. And while truth can sometimes be uncomfortable, even confronting, it also liberates. It frees us from the exhausting need to pretend, perform, or fit into illusions. In a world built on surface-level impressions and curated realities, living truthfully is an act of quiet rebellion. It allows us to connect more deeply with ourselves, with others, and with life as it is. So if you're feeling overwhelmed by confusion or distrust, don't harden your heart. Soften it instead. Let your curiosity be your guide. Ask deeper questions, listen more than you speak, and remember The path to awakening doesn't come from knowing all the answers, but from being willing to keep looking honestly, no matter how long it takes. Are you ready to walk that path? 5. Seek meaning, live with purpose in a chaotic world. In a world that often feels like it's spinning faster than we can keep up, where news cycles, personal struggles, and global crises seem to never rest, it's easy to feel lost or overwhelmed. But here's something to hold on to. Chaos may never disappear, but a sense of meaning can guide us through it. Meaning isn't just a feel-good concept. It's what gives our lives shape, direction, and emotional strength. It turns the pain we experience into something useful, transforming suffering into a stepping stone toward growth and understanding. As the original message says beautifully, meaning turns suffering into growth, hardship into wisdom, and uncertainty into discovery. When we have a reason behind our actions, when we understand the why behind the things we do, every challenge starts to feel like a path, not a dead end. Meaning isn't just philosophical, it's deeply practical. Without it, we tend to drift from one moment to the next, feeling disconnected and aimless. But with meaning, we rise, we endure. We become capable of facing uncertainty with clarity instead of fear. So take a moment and ask yourself, what truly matters to me? This isn't about achieving something society tells you is important. This is about going inward and listening deeply to your heart. What brings you a sense of peace, fulfillment, or love? Is it your relationships, the way you help others, the creative spark you follow, or perhaps your connection to nature or something greater than yourself? The answers are already within you. You just have to give them your attention. Finding meaning doesn't always require a grand purpose or life-altering goal. Sometimes it shows up in quiet acts of kindness, in caring for someone who needs you, in doing your best work, even when no one is watching. Meaning can be found in the smallest details of your daily life if you live them with intention. Living with purpose doesn't make chaos disappear, but it changes how we respond to it. Instead of getting lost in the noise, your sense of meaning becomes your inner compass. It brings harmony to your thoughts and actions, and it anchors you when everything around you feels unstable. When we act with purpose, whether that's through love, creativity, service, or faith, we create a kind of internal coherence. Our choices begin to align with our values. We become more grounded, more compassionate, and more resilient. You don't have to have all the answers. What matters is that you keep returning to what's true for you, again and again. In Buddhist teachings, this is similar to following your dharma, your unique path, your personal truth. No one else can walk it for you, but once you begin, the path reveals itself more clearly with each step. So, I encourage you to reflect gently. What legacy do I want to leave behind? How do I want to show up in the world, especially when life feels uncertain or difficult? These aren't questions to answer in a hurry. Let them sit with you. Let them guide your decisions and help you move through life with clarity and peace. The key takeaway here is this: meaning is not found outside of you. It is something you shape through the way you live, love, and serve. When you live with purpose, you bring order to the chaos, strength to the struggle, and light to the darkness. Let your sense of meaning be your anchor, and no storm will shake you for long. What matters most is not how loud the world gets, but how clearly you can hear your own heart. What is it telling you today? As we've seen, Baba Vanga's red sky prophecy may be more than a warning. It might be a reflection, a mirror not just of the world around us, but of the world within us. Whether it signals chaos, awakening, or a shift in consciousness, the deeper message is clear. Now is the time to live with awareness, compassion, and purpose. If this journey sparks something in you, whether a question, a feeling, or a new perspective, don't let it fade. Keep exploring, keep reflecting, and above all, keep walking the path of wisdom. If you found value in today's video, please like, share it with those who might need to hear this, and subscribe to The Journey of Wisdom. Don't forget to turn on notifications so you won't miss what's coming next. We have more meaningful insights on the way. Until next time, stay mindful, stay grounded, and remember, even in the shadow of a red sky, we can choose to walk in light.